afternoon, everyone, and happy Friday. It's Alissa, Coram, and Shreve here with a look at the stock market today. And on today's show, we're going to be analyzing the charts of Amazon, Atlassian, and Vertex. But first, we need to take a look at the major indexes. It was a down day on Wall Street. The Nasdaq finishing down 3.2%, so a pretty steep loss there, Ken, to cap off the week. Looks like it wasn't able to hold on to that 10-day moving average. What do you make of today's action?
Well, it wasn't a great close for the stock market for sure, and the percentage declines were pretty daunting. The market was really dealing with a lot of rough headlines at the open. There was a sell-off in Amazon shares that we'll talk about that in a little bit. Semiconductors sold off sharply again. The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index was down 3.7% on Thursday. At last check, let me see here. I think it was down, another 5% today. So part of the weakness in the semiconductor stocks. President Trump talking about maybe more tariffs for China in retaliation as to how they've handled this the coronavirus outbreak in their country. So there's new tariff threats out there, weakness in semiconductor stocks, but I think growth investors probably got a little spoiled. It's been a really powerful rally off lows. We're getting a little bit of a pullback here, so we'll see how the market responds next week. But we're still in a confirmed uptrend. And final thing I'll say is that volume today did come in lower than what we saw Thursday, so we did avoid a distribution day. So that's a slight positive as well.
Yeah, definitely a key thing to note here. And of course, for all the details, make sure you check out today's big picture article at investors.com, as well as Mike's weekend stock market update for your weekend homework. You can find both of those under the market trend tab on the site's main navigation. But let's now take a look at Amazon, because this was definitely in the spotlight today in a not very good way, with the stock closing down 7.6% in above average turnover. Now, this comes after a strong session on Thursday with the stock hitting new highs, but quite a reversal in mood here for Amazon investors, Ken.
Yeah, and there was some volume in Amazon. We just talked about sort of a lighter volume in the Nasdaq, but volume was pretty heavy in Amazon today. If we look at the daily chart here, it is encouraging that the stock was able to hold support at its 21-day moving average, and you can see the stock broke out of a base. This was on April 14th. It's still holding comfortably above the buy point. So this is this is not a damaged stock chart at all. Big sellers in the stock today, but its technical picture is still intact. It's still holding above a buy point. Revenue was better than expected. Their Amazon Web Services unit still doing well. Revenue they're up 32% to 10.2 billion. Hard to believe that 10.2 billion in web services revenue only makes up about 13 or 14% of the company's total revenue. So there were a lot of bright spots to Amazon's earnings report. E-commerce sales up 24%. Grocery delivery, grocery sales up a nice percentage gain. But investors were spooked by when CEO Jeff Bezos said that the company is going to be spending up to $4 billion in the second quarter to address coronavirus-related expenses. Of course, delivery times for a lot of Amazon.com products is taking much longer, so they're probably going to be investing in their delivery infrastructure and all that. But big spend in the second quarter, that's raising concerns about profitability, and that's what mostly weighed on the stock today.
Yeah, very good point. And one more quick note on the chart before we move on. For those aggressive traders who did happen to add here above this little shelf that we're calling it, it looks like the close here a bit on the bubble in terms of finishing below the intraday low of this area. So definitely something to think about. And I'm sure we will be discussing this on Monday on IBD Live. And let's take a look at Atlassian now. Ticker is TEAM. This stock also falling on its quarterly earnings report, but the losses were minimized by the end of the session, down about 0.6%. Some nice support there at that 21-day moving average, Ken.
Yeah, and on yesterday's show, we talked about ServiceNow, another enterprise software stock with very good earnings. So, in fact, we talked about two enterprise software stocks yesterday, but Atlassian definitely deserves mention today. They reported earnings, and you can see this was another sort of a test like Amazon at the 21-day moving average, but Atlassian was down almost 6% at one point today. Looks like it ended with a loss of less than 1%. So there were definitely, even though the stock closed lower, there were definitely buyers in the stock today, lifting the stock off lows. And I was still like Atlassian in the enterprise software space. Maybe you can point out that really nice relative strength line poking into new high ground today. And Atlassian assigned 80 buy point. Still needs to break out from this base, or at least over that left side high of 156.12. So for people that bought at 149.80 thereabouts, you may get an opportunity to add here if it can ultimately break out to an all-time high over that 156 level.
All right. And last but not least, let's check in on Vertex, another stock that we've been touching on a lot lately. Now, Vertex hanging in here in buy range. It did pull back. What are your thoughts on the move here today for Vertex?
Well, it certainly wasn't looking good Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. This stock really tried to wear us out. It's
Yeah.
a member of the leaderboard portfolio, so it was down for 3 days in a row. But in the end, it just ended up being just a solid test of the buy points. Remember, we had pretty sharp losses for the indexes today, but Vertex strengthened late, closed up near its session high, so it is still absolutely in buy range here from that 249.95 entry. Really big earnings report earlier this week from Vertex. You can see 125% surge in profit and 76% rise in sales. The company is very big in the cystic fibrosis market, so pretty solid showing for Vertex today.
Yeah, and next week is going to be another big week for earnings. So we will definitely continue our coverage on that front for you. But Ken, what's on your on your radar for what we're expected to see next week?
Well, another enterprise software stock acting great in this market, had another pretty decent today, held up well. Shopify, high-priced stock in the enterprise software space. We'll be watching earnings from Shopify. Also interested to see what PayPal has to say. This is another stock with a pretty bullish chart headed into earnings. And then Bill.com, ticker BILL. This is a new issue brought public by Goldman Sachs I think just last year, and really good sales growth here. So Bill.com will be reporting earnings next week as well. So lots going on next week.
Yeah, well, there you have it, everyone. Make sure you check out investors.com for all the latest. And Monday morning, IBD Live is the place to be to get our latest thoughts and real-time analysis on stocks that are making all the important moves. So we hope you check it out, investors.com/IBD Live. We'll see you then. Hope you have a great weekend.